Well, good morning again, and it is now 9:30, 9:31 in fact. The temperature outside climbing towards 17 today. It's going to be a little cooler tomorrow. Lots of nice sunshine around, but a chance of scattered showers. That's what's happening in the weather front, or on the weather front, in our little town. Our little town being Lewes in East Sussex, the county town of East Sussex, a town of some importance going back to Alfred the Great around 800 AD. Plenty of history here. We're going to just take you through a little bit of frivolity because in the first half hour we've looked at the national news and we've looked at what's happening locally, particularly with the elections. We got pretty hot and heavy, and we do. We get very excited about these things because we believe that television, even though it's rapidly changing and disappearing, has a great deal to offer in terms of acting as the opposition, if you like, in the political front. And in this town particularly, we need an opposition because the Conservatives are absolutely wiped from the face of the earth. The people that have taken over, the Greens, the Lib Dems, and Labour, are all cock a hoop, but they've done nobody any favours in having a heavily weighted council with nobody to tell them that they had better think again. So that was our role. That is our role. But we also look at the gentle side of this town. It is a lovely, lovely town. If you live here, you know that. If you just moved here, you'll undoubtedly be finding out. And we're looking back now to the way we introduced the programs about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But it's a way of us introducing you to what goes down in Lewes, and we hope that you enjoy it. You should. Well, good morning. It's Keith Hayes at Priory Park in Lewes, standing or sitting by Jenry, our mascot, and indeed a very important person in history. And that's why I thought I would find Annie here. I'm very pleased that Annie Verrill is joining me for Break an Egg, our new morning program. And she's all right, really. It's like wind in the willows. They say that the squirrels are all right and the rabbits are all right, but we chaps, we're okay. Oh, dear. Don't suppose you've got anything nice to say about me, have you?
What am I supposed to say to that? Although, you did mention an important person. I thought you were talking about me.
Yes.
Thank you.
She's a right little nag, you know. I mean, she gets after me for the slightest thing. Did you bring a pen? Oh, yes, I brought a pen. Well, it's a good job you remember because, you know, you have to work. I have to work with this woman day in, day out. I mean, can you imagine? No wonder. It's nothing to do with age, though I'm bald and looking as old as I do.
Well, here I am to bring some youth into this program. And if you did things right the first time, I wouldn't have to nag you, you know. We're not doing it for fun, even though you'd like to believe so, wouldn't you?
Listen to it. Well, the reason I was talking about nagging is that Gundrada, who is the wife of Bill Varenne, who was the first lord of Lewes after the Norman conquest in 1066, insisted that this priory should be built. And it was built in 1079, and a lot of it is still standing, despite the vandalism of Henry VIII, 400 years later, in fact. But the fact is, she nagged poor old William the Conqueror and her husband Bill to death just to get it built. Nag, typical woman.
Yes. And then what happened? The priory was built. We wouldn't have a priory to sit at right now.
I'll give you that.
Well, there you go. I know I'm right.
I bet you there's more people wanting to spend the money better way, just the way they do today.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, she hasn't been listening. Whenever
Well-
the government says it's going to spend 2 billion or so, there's always somebody that says, "Oh, they could have been better spent on." Well, they argue like you and I.
You and politics. Blooming heck. You do get boring sometimes.
Yes, I suppose so, but then we always have to have a little touch of politics, particularly at this hour of the morning when we're talking to the people of Lewis.
What a
And-
way to wake up.
Oh, yes, wake up to listening.
If this is not
Hayes
going
and
to wake
Verrill
you up.
talking politics. But we do have, we can get off politics now, because we do have Stephen Catlin, who is to be the mayor of Lewis Town, that is, not Lewis District Council, next year. And he has an insight into the council, and he'll be giving us a little bit of more depth. So let's talk about something else. We have this morning a little bit on food.
Yummy. Just the thing I like to talk about.
Anytime I've been to a restaurant, well, never approves of anything I order.
Yeah, whatever. Because all you want to eat is blowing watery stuff.
I wouldn't be seen within a mile of water. You see how well she knows me. Just put a glass of water in front of me and I faint.
I meant oysters, okay? I'm not posh enough to know these things. And I don't like them.
Oh, listen to her. I'm posh enough to know what an oyster
I'm not
is.
rich enough to like oysters.
I have to say, I was with her when she tried her first oyster.
Ooh,
Talk about comedy.
I bet that wasn't a pretty sight.
Well, I am, she's right, I am an oysters and champagne man. And I just love oysters. And when I lived in Northern Ireland, we were just round the corner from a company which is now out of business, but known as Kewen Oysters. So I was able to go and get a dozen or so a day. But it's always said that oysters...
Oh,
make
don't
you-
say it. No, don't say it.
But I've got to.
No, oh no, it's too early for that.
What, eating oysters?
No, it's too early to listen to what you wanted to say.
The owner was interviewed by a friend of mine who was the chief photographer of the Daily Mirror, Cyril Kane, who was known as the commander and a great character. And Cyril went down there and he said to Jasper Parsons, who was the man who ran the oystery, if that's what we call it, a fishery, and he said, "Is there any truth, Jasper, that in the saying that oysters make you feel frankly randy?" And Jasper said, no, not at all, Cyril. He said, there's no truth to it whatsoever. And Cyril said, "Are you married, Jasper?" He said, "Yes." He said, "How many children do you have?" 17. Oh, you don't find that funny?
Well, feel better now,
Oh, yes.
now that you mentioned your favourite topic.
I must say it's never done that for me, but the champagne, the little bubbles get up my nose and I just love it. How about you?
Champagne is good, but a Bloody Mary is even better.
Ah, now tell us about the Bloody Mary.
Who doesn't know a Bloody Mary? First of all, the name. Very good name. Some tomato juice, some vodka. The more the better. Some horseradish and some black pepper. And maybe a little bit of sherry in there. Just for the twist.
Sounds good, but some people, Canadians particularly, say that they like clamato juice. Ever tried that?
Well, you sort of maybe try it once. Not for me, no.
And how about V8, the vegetable juice? No?
No.
No pleasing some people. A Bloody Mary it is, made in the original style. The original Bloody Mary.
Yummy.
Okay, well, we've had a good natter to start off the programme this morning. I think that Annie said that she wanted her eggs poached. I will have mine fried. And so we're going to go away for a few minutes to give Stephen and one or two others a chance to butt in on this programme, both about food, politics, architecture, you name it. We've got a whole potpourri coming up. Toodle-pip.
Goodbye.
Yes. And to introduce people to Lewes and some of the historical things there. This upcoming weekend is going to be the reenactment of the Battle of Lewes. And for those people who don't know about the Battle of Lewes, and there are many, even many people who actually live here, is the where we just broadcast from, the Priory was a key part of the Battle of Lewes. The battle took place in 1264, in I think it was May 1264, and it was King Richard King Henry III. Um, Even despite the fact that King John had signed or not signed, had given his seal of approval to the Magna Carta, was still busy spending money like water, and it wasn't his money; it was the money that he was taxing the barons with. And they got a bit upset about it 50 years after there had been a document signed to say that that wouldn't happen. The divine right of kings was a little less divine than everybody had taken for granted up until that point. And so Simon de Montfort gathered a bunch of barons together and said to the king, "Oi, stop spending our money like this. Come on, we've got to share a bit of the authority." And the king said, "I am here because God put me here. Divine right of kings, bugger off." So de Montfort and he clashed in the Battle of Lewes. And Simon de Montfort won the day. And part of that battle took place on the scene that you just saw, the Priory grounds. The Priory was then one of the most magnificent priories anywhere in the country. It's huge. And it was only when it was pulled down by Thomas Cromwell on behalf of Henry VIII in 1540 or so that it ceased to dominate this entire community. But anyway, going back to 1264 and the Battle of Lewes is when the king was actually holding a massive party for the festival of St. Pancras. And de Montfort crept up on him and said, "Oi, we're breaking in on your party." And they took battle. They got into a slanging match and a fighting match and so on and so forth, which de Montfort and the barons won, even though they were mightily outnumbered. The result was that the barons set up the very next day in Westminster, a parliament. Not a sort of parliament that we are used to today. It was just the barons and the king. But it was the first sign of a democratic process, in as much as the barons were able to have a say, to have a vote, to say how their money was spent and what the policies would be of the crown. So the Battle of Lewes was the first spark of English democracy. Now I say English democracy because that's all it covered at the time. But since English democracy spread around the world over the next 5 or 6 centuries, then indeed it was the start of global democracy. Not widely recognized. Historians know about it. Some aficionados who like to look at their town and say, "Hey, this happened and that happened," know about it. But generally speaking, people do not understand and appreciate the significance of the Battle of Lewes, and they should. So the reenactment is this weekend, and it actually takes place in the streets because that's where part of the battle took place. Part of it took place on a battlefield just outside the town. The barons, this was a walled town, cut through the wall, through the gates without any problems whatsoever, and hacked people to death in the streets.
and they also attacked the monastery because that's where the king was having his whoop-de-doo. And the thousands were killed. It was a pretty vicious and nasty battle. And speaking to Ellen Jason, who was a trustee at the not very well at the moment, but she's a trustee at the priory, and she described how a lot of these people died, which was not a pretty way to die, because the broadsword would not necessarily cut into you, but if you were hit with it, it would actually damage the internal organs, and that would slowly kill you, as opposed to if you had the thing thrust through your innards and kill you right then and there. And they continue, even to this day, to uncover mass graves of people who died in this conflict. There were thousands and thousands and thousands on both sides that did. So a very, very key part of the history of Lewis, but also the history of the United Kingdom, because it ignited a flame that bit by bit over the years, right down to the modern day, has seen a shift in the way that we're governed. I'm not sure that what's happening at the moment is the best thing that happened to us. But if you look back between now and then, most certainly the most dramatic changes have taken place, not least of which is we each get a little card that says that we have the right to vote. And to prove who we are, we have the right to vote. And that really came out of the Battle of Lewes all those centuries ago. So that's where the Priory is, or that's what the Priory. I see sneaking in the back is Liza Page, who will be with us in about 10 minutes or so. And she will give us the alternative view. Good morning, Liza.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
That's
How are you?
good. Not too bad at all. Not too bad at
good.
all, my dear. We have just played a little video, which goes back to 3 or 4 years ago to show what we were doing then. And it took place, that particular clip took place down at the Priory. And for those people who don't know, and for those people who are new to the town, and for that matter, a reminder to those people who have lived man and boy, girl and woman in the town, is just how important the Battle of Lewes was and how it started the small flame that became a massive flame, and particularly under Tom Paine 3 or 4 centuries later, and it established not only democracy in this part of the world, but also democracy in many, many other parts of the world that were affected by what nowadays we are not supposed to say, but was the British Empire, and is now and has been the British Commonwealth. So if you think that there's nothing terribly exciting about this, you've got another thing coming. Now, the lady will be joining us in about 10 minutes' time. We just will just take a quick look at what we may have just to fill in for the 10 minutes, and maybe we've got something of interest, maybe we haven't. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do a promo. I love these promos. That's who we are. Mirador Television.
Mirador Television. And you'll get used to the name. More and more of you are actually watching us, which is terrific. Now, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll just do a nice, gentle thing, because the way that we actually, we're very limited in the amount of money that we've got, the human resources we've got, and even then, a lot of people say, God, it's impossible, impossible, you punch well above your weight. The way we do actually our geography and travel is through model railways. So let's do a chuff up until the witching hour, when her nibs actually comes along and starts to berate me and beat me around the ears.
Ooh.
Well, there you are. That's travel to New Zealand. And actually, you know, we don't know much about New Zealand because it's so far, far, far away.
I know about New
Oh,
Zealand.
well,
I worked
there we
there.
are.
I worked there. It was absolutely beautiful.
Right.
A very gentle people. I mean,
There-
pretty countryside. And then they had the Arden come in.
They had the what?
The Arden.
Oh,
And
well.
she's turned it totally communist.
Well, communist?
Mm.
Cut it off. Cut it off without a word. No
No,
communists here. We're
fascist,
McCarthyites.
communist,
no, we're
call what you bloody like. That woman has ruined it.
Listen,
Ruined the
listen.
country.
Look at that.
A beautiful
Look at that.
country like
Yeah,
New
yeah.
Zealand.
You see, she's got her own camera today for a little while. We're just experimenting with it.
But what was wrong with the old one?
No, there's nothing. It's just that this is your individual one. By the time I've actually sorted it out, we won't use it today, but at least we're
Well, thank
taking a step
God.
forward. Right now, we'll be back in a few minutes with Liza. You can tell that she's in very feisty mood this morning, ready to take on Loaded for Bear. But I just wanted to say that over the next 24 hours, and next week, we've got some interesting people for you because Her Honor Wendy Joseph QC, a former murder and homicide judge at the Old Bailey, is likely to appear. Simon Jenkins, former editor of the Evening Standard, and Claire Barrett, a consumer editor of the Financial Times. That'll please Stuart no end. And hopefully Peter Hitchens, that Liza will be interviewing on Sunday and will be shown next week. So there you are. There's a lot that's happening on Mirador, and we'll carry on with today's affair in just a few minutes. We'll just get ourselves sorted out here, sort it out, and give you an opportunity to take a breath.